Theorizing that one could explore the pop culture timeline while neurologically tethered to the present, Dr. Sam Austin embarked on an extraordinary journey. His project is called the GenXpedition. I am Cassie, Dr. Austin's temporal processor. I am connected to him by a neurological link that transcends time and space. It is a fusion of man and machine, making Dr. Austin the world's first bionic time leaper. And so Dr. Austin finds himself leaping from one beloved entertainment artifact to the next, striving to find what made them special, and hoping each time that his leaps will rekindle our collective imagination.
Whoa. Cassie, where am I?
Hello, Dr. Austin. You have just arrived in Hong Kong on December 20th, 1974.
Okay, now I see exactly where I am. This is The Man with the Golden Gun. It's the first James Bond movie I ever saw.
That is correct. Although this is not a Bond film that most people rank very high, I read in the neural link that this film holds sentimental value for you. Can you provide a summary of the film's plot?
Of course. The movie follows British secret agent James Bond 007 as he's drawn into a deadly game with Francisco Scaramanga, a hitman known for using a golden gun. The film kicks off with Bond receiving a mysterious golden bullet, suggesting that he's the next target of this notorious assassin.
I mean, sir, who would pay $1 million to have me killed?
Jealous husbands, outraged chefs, humiliated tailors. The list is endless.
Bond then embarks on a mission to track down Scaramanga. His investigation takes him to various exotic locations where he gathers clues about Scaramanga's whereabouts and motives.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
An unexpected honor, Mr. Bond. Your reputation precedes you. This way, please.
The film's plot weaves together elements of espionage and emerging technological themes, reflecting the concerns of that era.
Exactly. Bond discovers that Scaramanga is not only a skilled assassin, but also involved in a complex plot involving solar energy, which was a hot topic during the 1970s energy crisis. Bond's journey ultimately leads him to Scaramanga's private island. The film wraps up with Bond navigating the challenges posed by Scaramanga and his associates, while maintaining his typical wit and charm.
That's what I call trouble.
It's a film that may not be at the top of everyone's list, but it holds a special place in my memories, and I think it's extremely underrated.
Must admit, Mr. Bond, I am now undeniably the man with the golden gun.
If this film holds such personal significance for you, why is it not as beloved by general audiences as much as some of the other Bond films?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to comparisons. At this point, Bond had already established a certain standard with earlier films like Goldfinger and From Russia with Love.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Those movies set the bar so high that The Man with the Golden Gun just didn't seem to measure up in the eyes of the audience.
That is understandable. The legacy of Bond's earlier films would inevitably influence how new entries were received. But what specifically makes this film stand out to you, even with those comparisons in mind?
I guess for me it's all about context. By the time The Man with the Golden Gun was released in 1974, Bond films had already taken on a life of their own. Audiences expected a certain level of spectacle, big action set pieces, world-saving plots, and unforgettable villains.
I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
Scaramanga's plot in this film was a bit smaller in scale, more personal in its stakes. He's not out to destroy the world, He's playing a much more individual game with Bond.
To us, Mr. Bond, we are the best.
Perhaps the film suffers from being unfairly overshadowed by its predecessors, which were iconic and defined much of the Bond formula.
I think that's precisely it. The Man with the Golden Gun came right after Live and Let Die, Roger Moore's debut as Bond, which was a massive success. So expectations were high, but this film was trying to do something a bit different. If you go in expecting another Goldfinger or Thunderball, you might feel let down. But if you watch it on its own terms, it's a much better movie than people give it credit for. I just don't think that people were ready for a more low-key, one-on-one battle. Maybe Bond versus an assassin just didn't feel big enough.
To help with my analysis, can you provide more background on the origins of the James Bond movies? Understanding their evolution might clarify how this film fits into the larger picture.
Of course. The whole Bond phenomenon started with the books, written by Ian Fleming. Fleming was a former British naval intelligence officer, and he infused his experiences into the creation of James Bond. The first Bond novel, Casino Royale, was published in 1953, introducing readers to this suave, tough-as-nails secret agent who worked for MI6, British intelligence.
Fleming's background seems to have had a direct influence on Bond's character. Did the novels immediately translate into film adaptations?
No, not right away. While the books were popular, especially among British readers, it wasn't until 1962 that the first Bond movie called Dr. No was released. This marked the start of the film franchise as we know it today. The early films were produced by Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman under their company Eon Productions.
So, the success of the books laid the foundation for the films, but the leap to the big screen took some time.
Actually, before Bond made his leap to the big screen, there was a television adaptation of Casino Royale in 1954. It aired on an anthology show called Climax. And get this, it featured an Americanized version of Bond played by Barry Nelson.
Hello, this is James Bond.
It's a far cry from what the character would become in the films, but it's interesting to see this first live-action James Bond story.
Do you believe that the actor portraying Bond makes a difference in the audience's expectations for the character?
Oh, absolutely. Sean Connery, who played Bond in Dr. No, set the tone for what audiences expected from Bond: charm, wit, and an unflappable sense of cool even in the most dangerous situations. In my opinion, he's the most iconic and perhaps the best actor to have ever played James Bond.
That seems to be a key aspect of why Bond became such a beloved character. What makes Sean Connery's portrayal stand out to you?
Well, as I said, Connery brought the perfect blend of charm, toughness, and sophistication to the role. He set the gold standard for Bond. It's similar to how William Shatner embodied Captain Kirk in Star Trek. Both actors so fully inhabited their roles that it's hard to imagine anyone else replicating their performances.
That's an interesting comparison. How did Connery's departure from the role affect the franchise?
After You Only Live Twice, Connery stepped away from the role due to various reasons like typecasting and personal tensions. This left a big gap. George Lazenby took over for On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but he only did one film. Connery was then persuaded to return for Diamonds Are Forever, but the magic just wasn't quite the same.
Is that when Roger Moore stepped in?
Exactly. Roger Moore became Bond, starting with Live and Let Die. Before that, he was known for playing Simon Templar in a TV series called The Saint.
Your Majesty, may I present the infamous Simon Templar?
That role had him portraying a suave, sophisticated adventurer, not too far off from Bond. His experience made the transition to 007 feel quite natural.
I'll be with you in a minute.
How did Moore's portrayal differ from Connery's?
Moore's Bond was lighter, more humorous. He lacked the raw physicality that Connery had, but compensated with wit and a debonair charm. His films often had a more playful tone, which resonated differently with audiences.
What are you? Some kind of doomsday machine, boy!
Do you think that affected how audiences, especially your generation, connected with Bond?
Oh, definitely. I was only 8 years old when I first saw The Man with the Golden Gun. For many of us in Generation X, Roger Moore was our introduction to James Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
His films were the ones we grew up with. So while I recognize Connery as the quintessential Bond, Moore is my sentimental favorite.
So, personal experience and timing play significant roles in how humans perceive these characters.
Exactly. The Bond we first connect with often becomes our Bond. And for me, that was Roger Moore.
You would. Not after what we just done.
I certainly wouldn't have killed you before.
I now have a better understanding of how each actor's portrayal influences the character of Bond. Could you explain how the films themselves progressed from Dr. No to the man with the golden gun?
Certainly. Dr. No introduced us to the cinematic James Bond with a gritty, espionage-driven tone, reflecting the Cold War tensions of the time. Following Dr. No, we had From Russia with Love and Goldfinger, both of which expanded on the formula. Goldfinger especially is often hailed as one of the best in the series, introducing iconic elements like the Aston Martin DB5 and elaborate gadgets.
How did the series evolve after establishing these core elements?
With each subsequent film, the Bond franchise began to embrace grander scales and more complex narratives. Movies like Thunderball and You Only Live Twice pushed boundaries with underwater battles and volcanic layers. The action sequences became more elaborate and the stakes were raised to global levels.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
It seems the filmmakers were intent on outdoing themselves to keep audiences engaged. How did this impact popular culture at the time?
The influence was massive. Bond became a cultural icon, embodying sophistication and adventure. Fashion was impacted. The series set trends in style, music, and even attitudes toward technology and travel.
How far does your expertise extend into the field of diamonds?
Well, how does substance found in nature, the cut glass, suggest marriage? I suppose I've replaced a dog as a girl's best friend, and that's about it.
Refreshing to hear there's one subject you're not an expert on.
As the series grew, some critics pointed out that the films had become formulaic. There was a risk of the stories becoming overshadowed by the desire for bigger stunts and more extravagant settings. So the franchise began to incorporate contemporary themes and address current issues. For instance, You Only Live Twice tapped into the space race and Cold War tensions, and The Man with the Golden Gun involved the 1970s energy crisis and solar power technology.
The oil sheiks will pay you just to keep solar energy off the market.
The thought had occurred to me.
It is interesting how each film adds a new layer to the Bond mythology.
I agree. I think that's why Bond has endured for so long. He adapts without losing his essence.
What do you believe the movie adaptation of The Man with the Golden Gun was trying to achieve?
That's a great question, Cassie. I think the film aimed to explore the concept of Bond facing his equal and opposite, a sort of dark mirror of himself. Francisco Scaramanga is not just any villain. He's the evil Bond. He's equally skilled, shares a similar cultural sophistication, and operates with the same level of class.
Excellent. Slightly reminiscent of a 34 motor.
Then I must add it to my cellar.
So, Scaramanga represents a direct challenge to Bond's abilities and ideals.
Exactly. Unlike other villains who rely on massive organizations or world-ending schemes, Scaramanga is a lone assassin, much like how Bond often operates solo. This creates a more personal and intense conflict. It's a battle not just of physical prowess, but of wits and philosophies.
You work for peanuts. A hearty well done from Her Majesty the Queen and a pittance of a pension. Apart from that, we are the same.
When I kill, it's on the specific orders of my government. And those I kill are themselves killers.
How did Christopher Lee's performance as Scaramanga contribute to this dynamic?
Christopher Lee was outstanding in the role. He brought a level of charisma and menace that made Scaramanga both captivating and intimidating. Lee's sophisticated demeanor and commanding presence added depth to the character. He wasn't just a one-dimensional villain. He had his own code of honor and a twisted sense of professionalism.
Were there other notable actors or characters in the film that stood out to you?
Yes. Hervé Villechaize played Knick-Knack, Scaramanga's mysterious assistant. Despite his stature, he adds an unpredictable element to the story. Then there's Maud Adams as Andrea Anders, who brings a level of complexity to her role that goes beyond the typical Bond girl archetype. Britt Ekland as Mary Goodnight provides a mix of competence and comic relief, which adds layers to the narrative.
How does the film adaptation differ from Ian Fleming's original novel?
Quite a bit, actually. In the novel, Scaramanga is more of a brutish, less sophisticated character, and the story is set in Jamaica. Bond is recovering from a brainwashing incident and is assigned to eliminate Scaramanga as a test of his reinstated loyalty. The film, however, focuses more on the personal duel between Bond and Scaramanga, emphasizing action and adventure over introspection. The film also shifts the setting to Asia and introduces the subplot about the Solex agitator, a device crucial for harnessing solar energy. The novel delves deeper into themes of loyalty and redemption, and it was the last Bond book Fleming wrote.
It appears that the film was attempting to delve deeper into Bond's character by confronting him with someone who mirrors his abilities and traits.
Precisely. It's a fascinating exploration of what Bond could become if he chose a different path. This dynamic raises questions about morality, professionalism, and the fine line between hero and villain. That's what makes The Man with the Golden Gun stand out for me. It dared to do something different by making the conflict more personal and reflective.
Like every great artist, I want to create an indisputable masterpiece once in my lifetime. The death of 007, mano a mano.
I am beginning the upload of information from this leap. Is there anything else I should consider adding to the data?
Actually, yes. Seeing The Man with the Golden Gun was a pivotal moment for me. It sparked my love for James Bond movies. One key takeaway from this leap is how personal experiences shape our perceptions. This might not be the highest-rated Bond film, but it resonated with me deeply. It taught me that sometimes the value of a story isn't in its critical acclaim, but how it connects with you personally.
That is an important insight. Personal connections can greatly influence how we interpret and value cultural artifacts. I need a little more data before we conclude this leap in 1974. Do you believe that Roger Moore is the James Bond of Generation X?
That's an interesting question, Cassie. I can't say for certain, but if other members of Generation X were watching the Bond films as they were released, then Roger Moore would have most likely been the actor playing Bond during those years. Here in the 1970s, we don't have access to the earlier Bond films featuring Sean Connery. Television is limited to the 3 major networks, and they rarely air special reruns of older Bond movies. There's no streaming, DVDs, or Blu-rays because they haven't been invented yet, and home VHS tapes of the Connery Bond films won't be available until the 1980s.
That explains why his interpretation holds a special place for you, even if Sean Connery is often considered the quintessential Bond.
Exactly. Roger Moore's version was the one I grew up with. He was my entry point into the world of 007. The limitations of this era mean that our experiences are shaped by what's available to us. It won't be until the future when I can discover the earlier films and learn to appreciate them. But I have to say that when Roger Moore retires from the role in 1985, the Bond films will never quite be the same for me ever again.
I have calculated your next Bionic Leap and am targeting your destination in 1986. Do you have a last comment about James Bond or Roger Moore before I activate the temporal displacement field?
Just this. The James Bond films, especially through Roger Moore's portrayal, were more than just movies to me. They were formative experiences that shaped my appreciation for storytelling and heroism. No matter who plays Bond next, Roger Moore's legacy will always have a special place for me.
I've lost my charm!
Not from where I'm standing.
Come on, LaChance, give me the gun. What are you gonna do, shoot us all?
Always. Just you.